Hi, my name is Ethan Marchbanks,
And I am Noah Marchbanks.
and this is our presentation on our Arch Linux installation on our existing Linux VM within VirtualBox.
So first off, you want to start by installing the Arch Linux ISO, and you can find that here on this link here. Just type that into your browser, and then you should find your country. For us, it's United States, and you want to click that top link under that, this acm.wpi.edu link. And then once you're in that, it's going to send you to another web page, and you want to find the link that just has x86 underscore 64.iso. There's going to be a few of them. Make sure you click the one that just says .iso. And yeah.
After you download that ISO file, you're going to want to install the Balena etcher to actually etch that ISO onto the flash drive. And how you're going to do that is you're going to go to this link in the top left, and it's going to bring you to that page, like the screenshot right below it. It's going to say download etcher. It's going to have a bunch of different installers. You want to pick the one for your OS that you're currently running. Ours was the Linux x64. And once you download that app image, you won't actually be able to run it yet. You'll have to do a little bit more work. And so you're going to pop open your terminal and you're going to type in sudo apt install libfuse2. It's a library that you need to run it. And then you're going to actually find that app image in your downloads folder or whatever. You're going to right click it, go to properties, and then you're going to want to check this checkbox that says allow executing file as program. You want to make sure you check that. And once you do those two things, you should be ready to actually run it. We ran it from the command line, so we found that Balena etcher app image file and just did // on it to execute it. And then once you execute that, it will look like this.
So once you're actually in the Balena etcher, it'll look like this. And you want to click on this first blue button here, flash from file. And you want to find wherever you have that .iso file. You want to click that. It'll take you to the next step where you want to select your target, and this will be your flash drive that you are trying to boot Arch Linux on. And then once you select that, it'll take you to this next blue button here, and you want to click flash, and then it'll pop up a bunch of stuff that's going to be downloading, and you'll have to wait for that to finish.
Once that is finished, VirtualBox does not support booting from the USB flash drive by default. We had to do a little bit more work to do that. So we went to this VirtualBox official downloads page, and we downloaded the VirtualBox extension pack. And once we installed that, we enabled that on the VirtualBox manager, as you can see in the middle screenshots. Once you did those two things, you want to run your VM that you were on previously, and you run these two commands in the top right, the sudo group add. You're going to add a group named vbox users, and then add yourself to that group. And once you do those things, you are ready to log out of that VM and start making the Arch Linux feed.
So you want to create a new VM for your Arch Linux boot here, and we have it just named Arch Test, and we have our username and password here, and then you want to make sure that you enable EFI and do not add a virtual hard disk because we will be adding a virtual hard disk later. And then afterwards, you want to go to your settings. You want to go to USB, and you want to add your USB drive to that list. You just want to click that add button on the right there. You also we had to change it from USB 2.0 to USB 3.0. You might have to do that. And you want to click that add button and add wherever your flash drive is. And right here we have just some help images here. So for this, you want to go to your controller SATA right here. You want to click that second blue button. It looks like a hard disk with the plus sign. You want to click that. It'll ask you if you want to add or create. You want to create, and then you want to create a virtual hard disk, and the type right here will just be VHD for virtual hard disk.
All right, once you do that, you are ready to actually launch that VM. And once you do that, you will be presented with this UEFI interactive shell. It's going to give you a mapping table. And in this table, it's going to have a few entries. And you want to find the one that has USB in it. And for ours, it ended up being FS0. So you would replace that with whatever your drive name is if you're following these commands. But but you want to search through that directory. You want to find the EFI folder. You want to cd into that, and then find this boot folder, cd into that. And then you have this boot x64.efi that is the executable to actually boot the Arch Linux VM. You're going to want to actually to run that. You just type that into the shell, just how it is, boot64.efi. Then we'll run it. Once you run that, you'll be presented with this window in the bottom right. It's a little bit small, hard to see, but you want to click the first one. It says Arch Linux install medium. You'll click that one, and then it will begin loading that up.
After you set that up, we'll be needing to partition the virtual hard disk. And so you want to run this command here, fdisk -L. And then once you do that, you want to find which one that you're working with here. And ours is SDA. That's for the hard disk that we created. And then after that, you want to delete all existing partitions with the command, just the letter D. You want to press enter, and then you want to create a new partition with the settings above in this bottom middle image here. You just want to press P, enter for primary, and then you want to do 1 because it's our first partition here. You want to enter past that first prompt, and then on the second prompt, where it asks you for the last sector, you want to type +512M. And what this will do is it'll create a new partition, and it'll be partition 1, and it'll have a size of 512 megabytes. After that, you want to type the letter T, press enter, and if you want to look at a list of all the commands, you can type L, enter, and it'll show all these commands. You want to look for the one for EFI. It should be lowercase ef. And once you type that in, you want to go ahead and create, or what that command right there will change the partition that we just created right there. It'll change that partition type to EFI. And then after that, you want to create a new partition with the command in as again. And you want to configure it with the settings here on this bottom image, bottom right here. You want to press P again for primary. And then this time for partition number, it'll be 2, since this is our second partition. And this time you just want to enter past both of those sector prompts. And then it'll say created a new partition 2 of type Linux, and it will have a size, for us, it's defaulted to 25. So right here, it'll say 24.5 gigabytes. And then after that, after all that's said and done, you want to press, or you want to type W, which will then write and save all of those partitions.
All right, once you have those partitions created, you will then want to format them. The first partition, which is the EFI partition, you want to format using this command, mkfs.fat. Make sure you use fat and not ext4. Then you want to do -f32, just part of the command. And then you want to format the second partition that we made, which is our root partition. You want to format that one using the mkfs.ext4. And our partitions were /dev/sda1 and sda2 respectively. You could figure out what these partitions are by doing an fdisk-L again if you wanted to figure out what those were.
Afterwards, you just want to run a few commands here, which will basically set up and build that Arch Linux environment here. These first few commands here just have, or we're just using pacman to install some packages. And then afterwards, we're going to mount our second partition here to /mnt. Then afterwards, we're going to use pacstrap to download or to install Vim and Nano. And then you want to use this other command here to finish installing and setting up the fstab. And then afterwards, you want to go ahead and go into your Arch ch root, and this will open up a new input area.
Yes, once you are in this new Arch ch root shell, you're going to want to run these commands. These screenshots are a little bit wrong because we didn't do this initially in that ch root shell. But if you're following these slides in this order, then you should be in good shape. You're going to want to run the time date ctl set time zone. Ours was America/Chicago. You could probably look up whichever one pertains to you. And then we did nano/etc/locale.gen. This is going to open up a file for you to edit. You're going to want to find the language that you speak, and you want to uncomment that line from that list. Our language was English US.utf-8. So we found that line, uncommented it, and then once you do that, you're going to want to run locale-gen. This is going to load up that language, and then you're going to want to echo that. I'll put it to the config file and export that variable.
After you do that, you want to go ahead and set a host and password for the super user for the root. Right here, we just echo and then whatever you want it to be named. My arch can be anything here. We just chose my arch. And it says here you want arrow/etc/hostname. This is just setting that whatever you put there to that variable. And then afterwards, you want to vim into the hosts, and you just want to input these lines here as they are. And then afterwards, you want to go ahead and type the command password, spelled PASSWD, and you want to input a password that you will be using, and that should be set up.
Next, you're going to want to install grub to automatically boot this Arch Linux VM. If you skip this step, you will have to manually boot it every time, and that will be very annoying. So to do this, you're going to want to be in your Arch chroot shell, which will show you how to get into it again. You're going to use pacman to download the grub EFI boot manager. Once you get that downloaded, you're going to want to make a directory called /boot/EFI. And you're going to want to mount that to the first partition that we made, the EFI partition. Then you're going to want to run this grub install command here to actually download the grub bootloader. And once that is finished downloading, you're going to want to run this grub make config file. Let's go ahead and make a config file for that.
Next, these next few slides are just going to be a little bit of a customization we decided to do for our Arch Linux here. Right here, we're just using pacman to install sudo, and then we're going to add a user. And for me, my name is Noah. I just decided to make it Noah. And then we're going to make a password for that. Once that is done, that will be set up for a user. And then afterwards, we want to use this user mod here that's going to be adding these. And then afterwards, we want to go ahead and edit Visudo. And it'll be in this file, there'll be a lot of lines here that will say uncomment to blank. You want to find the one that says uncomment to allow members of group will to execute any command. And here, we already commented out, but it originally says hashtag for comment and then space. You want to make sure you delete both the space and the hashtag and make sure it looks like this. Then afterwards, you want to press escape:*X to exit and save.
And next, we set up a GNOME desktop environment for our installation. So to do this, we used pacman to install the network manager from the Xorg group. Then we used pacman again to install the GNOME package. Then you want to enable the GDM service and also the network manager service. And once you do these things, you are ready to actually run the VM in this new environment. So you want to unmount the chroot shell, which you're going to do that, you're going to run this command umount /MNT. For us, it was busy, so we had to do this other command umount-l/MNT, and it just happened to work. After you do those commands, you're ready to shut down the VM, and to shut it down, you're just going to do shutdown now. And then once you do that, you're going to want to run the VM again, and this time you're going to make sure your USB drive is ejected before you run it. Then once you start up the VM again, you'll be presented with a login, and then you want to enter your password for that, and then you will be presented with this desktop background that we got to, which looks a lot better than the initial shell type environment that it was. Yeah, this is it for our project. Thank you.